It is starting.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to each one of you, and thank you for joining us today. We are absolutely thrilled to have you for our webinar, Cloud Compliance in India, AWS Security Settings You Are Probably Missing. I'm Dia Pradeep, Business Development Associate at VisionFirst Technologies Private Limited, and I'll be your moderator for the session. Before we get into the core technical content, let's briefly look at who this session is meant for and what key takeaways you can expect. If you're a part of BFSI sector or any other regulatory industry, this session is especially relevant to you. Whether you are a security engineer working to strengthen AWS environment, a cloud architect focused on compliance and cost optimization, a technology leader driving modernization, or part of a risk and governance team, you are in the right place. Now, why should you pay attention today? We'll be covering 10 essential AWS security features, some of which are overlooked. We'll see how these directly support key compliance frameworks like DPDPA, PCI DSS, and CERT-In. You'll also get a practical roadmap to implement these using AWS native tools. To set the stage, I would like to welcome someone who has been pivotal in shaping the direction of our company, Ms. Shilpa Gupta, Director at VisionFirst Technologies Private Limited, who is a strategic and result-driven technical programmer leader with over 15 years of experience across AI, digital transformation, marketing analytics, and large-scale program management. We are privileged to have her leadership guiding our vision. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Unikrishnan SI, Security Engineer at VisionFirst Technologies. Uni brings 3+ years of hands-on experience in cloud security, helping clients build compliance and secure environment on AWS. He has been instrumental in guiding organizations by implementing best practices and closing hidden security gaps that often go unnoticed. Before I hand it over to Shilpa, let me quickly walk you through the agenda for the session. This session will last for 30 minutes and is being recorded. We'll begin with a brief about us to introduce who we are and what we do stand for. Next, we'll touch on the top 10 controls, and then we'll discuss practical next step and how we can support you. And finally, we'll open the floor for Q&A session where we are happy to take any questions you may have. With that, I would like to invite Shilpa to share a brief overview about who we are and what we do and invite today's speaker. Over to you, Shilpa.
Um, Hi, dear. Thank you so much for a very warm introduction and a very happy Wednesday, everyone. Let me take a quick moment to introduce who we are. Cloud first, security focused, outcome driven. We are VisionFirst Technologies, an 8-year-old cloud first company that specializes in building secure, compliant, and scalable platforms, particularly for BFSI and regulated sectors. From serverless and event-driven apps to real-time data pipelines and mobile apps, even generative AI, we bring enterprise-grade engineering to every project. We have delivered architectures aligned with PCI DSS, SOC 2, RBI, and ISO certified, certified as well. And we are proud to be an ISO certified company as well as AWS and Microsoft partners. In short, we help organizations modernize on the cloud securely while enabling them to move faster, reduce the risk, and unlock new value. Moving on to the next slide. Our work spans 5 key focus areas. First, security and compliance. We help companies become audit ready with payment card industry data security standard and more getting added. Or AWS security hardening and penetration testing services reduce the risk of breaches and failed audits. Second, cloud and data engineering. We modernize cloud architectures from monolithic legacy application to modern cloud native application and event-driven architecture. Third, DevOps and cost efficiency. From continuous integration to continuous deployment, pipelines to AWS cost optimization, we help teams move faster while staying within budget. You may download our ebook, Cut Your AWS Cost by 50% to implement some quick wins on your own. This ebook link is available on our website, vfirstt.com. Fourth, product engineering and AI. We build full stack SaaS products and now offer generative AI agent development to help teams move beyond chatbots into smart action driven assistants. And finally, architecture and advisory. We offer hands on, high impact architecture guidance to help you make confident decisions with long term payoff. Moving on to the next slide. As you can see on the slide, our work span across the globe and across industries. You will see here a quick map of where our customers are located. You may take a look at some of the reference customers, a large and financial service and wealth advisory firm in the US, a Bitcoin operator working across the US and Canada, one of the largest insurance brokers in the Indian market, and so on. What connects all of them is the need for secure, scalable, and modern technology platforms, and we have been very proud to support them in that journey. Now, let me share a few quick examples of the kind of work we have delivered across security, scale, and innovation. On this slide, you will see the first part on the left-hand side. We built a serverless e-compliance archive for a US financial customer. It runs securely on AWS for under $10 a month and it's maintenance free for years. Second, for a wealth management firm in the US, we helped restructure their AWS environment with Control Tower, Security Hub, and single sign-on, enabling them to pass security audit with confidence. And in Australia, we created a custom pipeline that correlates logs from AWS and Azure, helping a cybersecurity product company detect threats in real time. I will move on to this next slide. On the scale and innovation side, in rural India, on the left-hand side of the slide, we delivered an offline first mobile app for crop insurance data collection. It supports over 2,000 field agents, works without signal, and syncs on Wi-Fi. On the right-hand side of the slide is an example where we built a Kafka-based ingestion pipeline for a customer in UK, scaling to over 100 million messages per day, powering high-volume financial data processing. These are just a few, but they show how we deliver security, performance, and innovation tailored to the domain. Moving on to the next slide, we are grateful to have earned the trust of teams across the globe: US, Australia, UK, India, and more. Here's what few of them have said about working with us on this slide. Now, all these stories across US, UK, US, Australia, these stories reflect not just our technical depth, but the trust our clients place in us when it really matters, whether it's scaling fast, staying compliant, and delivering under tight constraints. Having said that, I will now hand it over to our expert, Unni, to walk you through some of the best practices for cloud compliance in US AWS security settings. I'll hand it over to Unni now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpa. And that's a great way to set the stage. Now, let's dive into why this session matters, especially if you are operating in India. If you handle sensitive data in finance, healthcare, or tech, chances are you are facing at least one of these. DPDP Act or Digital Personal Data Protection Act. It focuses on user consent, data protection, and localization. Then comes certain guidelines from the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. They are enforceable rules for service providers, data centers, and cloud providers operating in India. And finally, we have a PCI DSS or Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. If you accept even one credit card payment, you are in. It enforces encryption, access control, and more. That's what this session is about. And I will walk you through 10 critical AWS settings. Some are buried in the console and some sound optional, but aren't. All can impact your compliance if skipped. And I will show you how to enforce them at scale using AWS Control Tower. So you are not just secure, you are audit ready. Let's discuss why security features are often overlooked. So now that we know that the compliance frameworks like DPDP, CERT-In, and PCI DSS expects from us, let's talk about why some basic security controls still get missed, even in mature cloud setups. First, there is alert fatigue. There is just too much noise. When every dashboard is red, nothing feels urgent. Real risk get lost sometimes. The second one, the it's on by default myth. Actually, it's not. AWS gives you the tools, but like IKEA, you still have to assemble the security. Then it comes the third one, multi-account chaos. Controls may be solid in dev, but completely absent in staging or sandbox. That's a silent compliance risk. And then there comes the fourth one, lack of visibility. If you can't see the misconfiguration, you can't fix them. And sometimes a clean dashboard is just lying to you. And finally, there is fear of breaking things. Teams hesitate to enforce guardrails, thinking they might disrupt workloads. So security may stay pending. That's why this session is important, to spotlight those hidden controls and show you how to enable them and securely at scale. Let's go to the first control. So now let's walk through the 10 AWS features that not only boost your security posture, but also keep you compliant with frameworks like DPDP, CERT-In, and PCI DSS. We will start with a classic. One misstep that caused more breaches than we would like to admit, the public access to S3 bucket. In India, this directly violates multiple compliance standards. For example, the DPDP Act mandates protection of personal data and restrict unauthorized sharing or public exposure. When it comes to CERT-In, it also expects strong access controls and storing logs of access activity. When it comes to PCI DSS, it focuses on ensuring cardholder data that is never exposed externally. AWS offers a powerful setting called S3 block public access, which, when enabled at the account level, prevents any bucket or objects from being made public, regardless of who tries. Now I will explain this with a screenshot. So this shows an account setup with a block S3 access enabled. For an account, this is just as simple as selecting a checkbox. But but by using AWS Control Tower, you can enforce this setting automatically across all new accounts using guardrails, which removes the need for the developers to remember this manually. Now let's go back to the main point. So this is a simple low effort fix, but one that goes a long way in keeping you compliant and secure. Now let's go to the next control. So let's consider the EBS volumes that store everything from application code to sensitive logs and customer data. If these volumes are left unencrypted, they become a massive liability, both from a security and compliance point of view. The DPDP requires protecting data at rest, and the certain guidelines go a step further, expecting organizations to ensure data confidentiality and secure configuration. When it comes to PCI DSS, it mandates encryption of stored cardholder data. EBS default encryption ensures that all EBS volumes are encrypted automatically. People still think that they need to manually encrypt each volume. But in AWS, you can just flip one switch and say encrypt everything going forward. Now I will explain this with a screenshot. So you can see that always encrypt new EBS volume option is enabled. This is just for one account in one region. If you want to span this across multiple accounts and regions, and here is where Control Tower really adds value. It allows you to set up a guardrail that ensures EBS encryption is enabled by default across every accounts you create. Now let's go back to the main point. Control Tower, you can see that the Control Tower governs multiple accounts centrally. You can be confident that this control scales across all environments, not just dev or prod. This is not just a good security. This is how you build auditor-friendly cloud infrastructure that aligns with Indian regulations. Now let's go to the next control. Now let me ask, how many of you have enabled MFA on your personal email, but forgot to protect your AWS root account, the one that can literally shut down your company's infrastructure? It's like having a master key to a building and leaving it under the welcome mat. And now let's take a closer look at how enabling MFA or for the AWS root accounts aligns with Indian compliance frameworks. First in the table here, under DPDP Act, organization must implement reasonable security safeguards to protect personal data. When it comes to CERT-In, emphasize strong authentication mechanism for administrative access. And in PCI DSS, it requires multi-factor authentication for every administrative task. So at the end, MFA on root is non-negotiable. With Control Tower, we can enforce this as a preventive or dictative guardrail, and it integrates with AWS config to flag any account where root lacks MFA. From a compliance lens, this is a low-hanging fruit, but it's one of the first thing DPDP, certain or PCI auditors will look for. If MFA is not turned on for the route, they consider this as an immediate red flag. Now let's go to the next control. This slide is about auditing IAM usage, rotating access keys, and most importantly, enforcing release privilege. Now, from a compliance standpoint, this checks major box in DPDP, certain, and PCI DSS. All these frameworks mandate strong access control, active user management, and regular review of privileges. And honestly, that just makes sense. Now I will explain this with a screenshot. What you are seeing on the screen is a real example of guardrails implemented through AWS Control Tower. You can simply navigate to Control Tower and enable these guardrails. You can also implement config rules to detect users with old keys, unused accounts, and overly permissive policies. Now, let's go back to the main point. So think of this like a spring cleaning. Your IAM house may look fine on the outside, but under the rug, yeah, let's clean that up before auditor does it for you. Now, let's go to the next control. Now let's look at one of the simplest but most underused control, budget alert emails. Daily budget alerts can help you catch sudden spikes in data transfer or compute cost, or misconfigured resource running beyond expected thresholds. Or it can be either unauthorized provision in new regions or services. DPDP, certain, and PCI DSS all expect you to monitor for anomalies and enforce usage boundaries. And spending patterns are are a strong early signal. By configuring AWS budget alerts, you are not just monitoring spend. You are proactively catching security, governance, and misconfiguration issues before they cause compliance violation. Let me explain with a screenshot. Right now, you are seeing a screenshot of a live budget alert that we have configured. AWS budget isn't natively part of Control Tower, but it integrates well with your control landscape. You set a threshold, say $100 per day, and you will get an email that the same moment then things go sideways. Now let's go back to the main point. It is one of those small setups that saves you big stress during month-end reviews and audit prep. So yes, cost visibility is a compliance visibility. Now let's go to the next control. All right, this is one of my personal favorites and often a silent hero in many environments, cost anomaly detection. Think of it as a AWS version of a credit card fraud alert. You don't wait till the end of the month to find out someone went shopping with your money. You want to know that today. Cost anomaly detection monitors your usage patterns and flags anything unexpected in near real time. Compliance frameworks like DPDP, certain, and PCI DSS are all about visibility, auditing, and prompt incident response. By enabling AWS cost anomaly detection, you are gaining real-time alerts for unexpected cost behavior, which often correlates to unauthorized access or insecure provisioning. Here is a quick screenshot from our environment. So this is a cost anomaly detection dashboard. As you can see, it highlights unusual spending patterns across services, helping you catch issues before they snowball. Even though this isn't actually a Control Tower guardrail, it is a compliance alert proactive signal that should be built in your monitoring strategy. Now, let's go back to the main point. It's one of those controls that's quiet when things are fine and loud when it matters the most. And that's exactly what good compliance looks like. Now let's go to the next control. Okay, so now we are getting into the heart of auditability. CloudTrail logging across all AWS regions. Think of CloudTrail as your security camera for the cloud. It records every API call, logging, resource change, everything. But there is a catch. By default, it only logs in the region you enable it. That means if someone launches a resource in any other region, no logs, no alerts, no audit trails. That's a compliance nightmare waiting to happen. This is a big checkbox for DPDP, certain, and PCI DSS, all of which demand complete visibility into system access and administrative activity. And finally, how does Control Tower help? It applies a mandatory guardrail to enforce multi-region logging. It integrates with AWS config to detect and report misconfigured or missing trails. So this is one of the most foundational logging controls for a compliant cloud, and Control Tower makes it easy to get it right. Now let's go to the next control. Now let's talk about something that feels small but plays a big role in reducing your cloud risk, disabling unused AWS region. Let me put it in this way. You wouldn't keep every door in your office building unlocked just because you might use that one someday. The same goes for AWS regions. For a compliance perspective, DPDP wants you to maintain data localization and control over where the personal data is processed and stored. Certain demands control over logical access and scope reduction, and PCI DSS emphasizing minimizing your scope. Leaving unused regions active means your data, or worse, shadow workloads, could end up outside your intended jurisdiction, especially important for geo-bound data residency. This is where AWS Control Tower shines. It lets you define your landing zone with only the approved region enabled and automatically prevents account creation or deployment in unapproved regions using SCPs or service control policies. So finally, disable what you don't need and focus protection where it matters. Now let's go to the next control. Let's talk about VPC internet gateways. By default, a VPC with a public IP and routing rules can talk freely to the internet. That might sound convenient until it leads to unauthorized traffic leaving your environment unnoticed. From a compliance angle, DPDP Act expects control over personal data transmission. Certain calls for tight perimeter security, and PCI DSS demands you prevent outbound traffic that could expose cardholder data. But this gets missed often, especially when when a developer spins up a VPC just for testing and forgets to remove the gateway. Here is where the control tower helps. It lets you define guardrails and SCPs to restrict or control where and when internet gateways are used. Locking down internet gateways helps you maintain network segmentation, reduces data leakage risk, and keeps your auditors happy by proving that only authorized traffic leaves your VPC. Now, bottom line, not every VPC needs a window to the world. Let's keep the things tight, clean, and compliant. Now, let's go to the next control. And this brings us to the final, but certainly not least important control in our list, Security Hub Score, your cloud's real-time report card. By now, we have talked about blocking public access, enforcing encryption, monitoring spend, and more. But this is the control that brings it all together. It maps directly to compliance frameworks like DPDP, CERTIN, and PCI DSS, helping you to prove the regulators, auditors, and internal leadership that your cloud posture is improving in real time. Here is a quick screenshot from our environment. So the Security Hub provides a single numerical score reflecting your alignment with AWS recommended best practices like CIS benchmark and foundational security standards. There is a standard for PCI DSS also. The score helps prioritize remediation and in case of audits shows evidence of continuous control and the review. With Control Tower, you can automate the enablement of Security Hub across accounts. Apply mandatory guardrails to ensure findings are monitored. Use Security Hub integration with Config and CloudWatch to build automated alerting and ticketing system. Now let's go back to the main point. Now, this is a great place to wrap up our list of 10 AWS settings you are probably ignoring. And more importantly, how to activate and monitor them using the tools like AWS Control Tower, Budgets, and Security Hub. So whether you are in BFSI, healthcare, fintech, and any other regulated space, I hope now you feel a little more confident about making AWS secure, staying compliant without losing the sleep. And with that, I will now hand it over to Dia, who will walk you through how we can help you moving forward. Over to you, Dia.
Thank you, Unni, for that excellent and eye-opening session. All right, now let's move on to the final practical next step before we open the floor for Q&A. On the top row, you will see a set of do-it-yourself actions you can take right away. Start by reviewing your AWS account using the 10 essential security controls we discussed earlier. Leverage AWS Trusted Advisor and Security Hub. These tools provide valuable insights into your security posture. Make sure to enable budgets and anomaly messages to stay proactive about cost and security. And finally, we would really appreciate it if you could share your feedback on this webinar. You can find the feedback form in the chat. It helps us improve and tailor future sessions to your needs. Now, if you like some hand-on support, that's where the bottom row comes in. This is where we may help. We offer security and compliance services, including PCI DSS implementation and AWS security hardening. External penetration testing is another area we specialize in, great for validating your defenses. If you're looking to save on cloud expense, we provide an AWS cost optimization audit. Please go to our website for downloading the ebook, which we already have. We also offer cloud architecture guidance, whether you are modernizing or starting from scratch. And lastly, if you're interested in exploring more, feel free to ask a brochure or book a quick appointment. You can use the QR code or reach us via email or WhatsApp. Don't forget to take a picture of this slide. If your checklist is moving forward, we are happy to support you on your cloud compliance journey. Now let's move on to the Q&A session. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We are happy to answer them. If you haven't already, please share your questions in the Q&A box. I'll move on to Unni for the Q&A session.
Thank you, Dia.
I'll read the questions one by one. We'll answer a few now. If MFA required for all, is MFA required for all accounts or just root users for compliance?
So under most compliance frameworks like DPDP and PCI DSS, enabling MFA for the root is non-negotiable. But beyond that, it's strongly recommended for all IAM users, especially those with elevated access. To manage MFA at scale across multiple accounts, you can use AWS Identity Center, and it integrates well with organizational identity providers like Azure-ready. That way, you will get centralized control over user access with the built-in enforcement of MFA policies across your AWS environment. So I will move on to the next one. We have a question. What AWS tools would you recommend for compliance reporting to auditors? I always suggest starting with AWS config. It gives you full visibility into resource history. Pair that with the cloud trail for activity logs and security for a high-level overview. And for official documents, you can use either a AWS artifact that provides downloadable compliance reports and hand over to auditors. Together, these tools give everything you need for a clean audit trail.
Thank you, Unni, for that answers. Hope everyone is clear with the answers.
So thank you all for your insightful questions. I'm glad that we could dive deeper into some of these important topics. With that, I will now hand over to Dia to wrap up. And thanks again for joining. It was actually a pleasure.
Just a reminder, you can take a picture of this particular slide if you need any support from our side. Please take a picture or take a screenshot of this particular slide, and you can reach out to us. That brings us to the end of today's session on cloud compliance in the US AWS security. Cloud compliance in India AWS security settings. We hope you found it valuable and insightful. A big thank you to Shilpa and to Unni for the expert knowledge. Thank you all for your time and active participation. We hope you are walking away with clear, actionable insights. Please take a moment to fill out the feedback form shared in the chat. It really helps us make this webinar more impactful. Until next time, stay secure and stay cloud smart. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.